Welcome to the newest episode of the Giants Huddle Podcast. I'm John Schmeelk, and for you watching on video, you recognize the man chatting with me today, the one and only Charles Davis from CBS Sports and NFL Network. And I think I spy a shirt of the undefeated Tennessee Volunteers under that quarter zip, Charles. Congratulations, man. There it is.
Thank you. I'm a VFL. That's what we call ourselves, Balls for Life. Very proud one, proud alumni, Letterman. And, I had an incredible experience there in so many different ways. Won an SEC championship, part of a team that won, and met some incredible people there. And real quick, John, on Tuesday, I laid to rest a man that I considered a second father who took me in and showed me the ropes there. And when I say took me in, it wasn't like I needed that. I got my own wonderful family. But a teammate of mine took me home for dinner. I ended up staying forever with that family, and we put Dad away. We laid Dad to rest on Tuesday, so gonna miss him desperately and greatly. His name is Ray West, just an incredible man.
Well, you have all our condolences, Charles, to you and your family and your friends down there with Tennessee. And again, we thank you for joining us. Tennessee top 10 in the AP and coaches poll right now. They're flying down there, doing well. Just a reminder, folks, Giants Huddle Podcast is presented by PSE&G, energy efficiency for game time and anytime. And Charles, of course, is with CBS. He'll have the call of the game at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Giants and Ravens. And Charles, wow, how about the Giants at 4-1 here? We'll get to the matchup a little bit later, but let's talk about the Giants. You've done some of your research already. We're recording this on Wednesday. You've watched some of the tape. I'm sure you watched the game against the Packers in London. Boy, how do you think the Giants have managed to pull this off?
To me, John, this is the most authentic Giants team I've seen in a while, and that's going to sound like I'm taking shots, and I'm not. Okay, but what I mean by authentic is every coach comes in and wants to talk about toughness, right? Every coach comes in and talks about culture. Every coach comes in and talks about we want to be whatever the phrase is, whatever the mantra is going to be, all those different things. I know that Brian Daboll has talked about that a little bit with all of us in the media. Obviously, he talks about it with his team all the time. But this team just is. And I think that's where the difference is. You get them into the fourth quarter, they're not acting like a team that hasn't won in recent years. They're acting like a team that knows how to win or understands how to close. And I think that's been the biggest surprise for all of us who cover the league, is that the Giants aren't, all of a sudden become an offensive juggernaut and they're blowing people away, or they have become an all of a sudden lockdown defense and, people can't score. They just hang around, keep it close. I know Brian Daboll has mentioned make it muddy, and then let's see who comes out of the muck in the fourth quarter. And the Giants have done it to the tune of 4-1, and that's been very interesting for me to watch, because that just doesn't seem normal, John, for a team. Because I'm like, where are their touchstones? What are they relying on? What are they going back to that was in the DNA in recent years that had them doing that? And it's not there. So something Brian Daboll and his staff have helped instill, and these players have bought really early in his tenure.
Charles, and the amazing thing is they had to come back against the Titans in week 1. They were the 1 seed in the AFC last year. They had to come back from a 17-3 deficit against the Packers, who obviously were a really good team last year. They have Aaron Rodgers. And it's almost like they just keep fielding TKOs, right? They just keep playing solid football. They are not making those mistakes in the big situations, and they're almost outlasting their opponents by just playing a very solid, fundamental, mistake-free brand of football. And I think for a young team, especially that has so many new pieces with injuries and guys that they just picked up off waivers and have barely played for the team in these systems, for them to be playing that sound level of football, to me, has to be a credit to the coaching staff.
Yeah, definitely the coaching staff. A big credit to the players for grasping the message and trying to play to that level. And a lot of coaching developing on the practice squad, so that when guys show up now, they show up ready to play. And I think that the teams around the league have kind of gotten the memo on that, John. The teams that we're seeing, the better teams that we're seeing, the practice squad is part of the regular squad. Okay. In the old days, the practice squad truly was a practice, if in emergency, break glass and go get a guy. But now they are coaching them, training them, practicing them like they could possibly play on Sunday. So they better know our game plan. They better know the people in the room. They got to know how to communicate with different people, know all your offensive and defensive schemes, and the coaching staff has to know what their strengths are, what they can do well. If I put them in the game, what I can call. See, and so you're spending more time with that. You're developing players at a different level, a different rate. And the best teams in the league have already grasped onto that. And the Giants seem to be no different, because I'm watching the Green Bay tape, John, and Nick McLeod and Justin Lane are corners down the stretch against Aaron Rodgers. Justin Lane's a former draft choice in the NFL with Pittsburgh, but never cracked their lineup. Nick McLeod, you couldn't pick him out of a lineup anywhere right now, even if you're a Giants fan. Yet they came out and played quite well. I think Justin Lane had that one play early on a crossing route with Aaron Rodgers, but they never backed down. They never quit doing what they were supposed to do. And Don Martindale, your defensive coordinator, kept calling defenses like, of course they know what they're doing out there. That told me a lot about what they're doing in terms of practice, training, developing, all those good things that goes along with it. This is a team that knows how to win, and I keep coming back to, where did that come from? Because it wasn't there. It wasn't part of this overall culture that has come along in a very short amount of time.
You know, Charles, you talked about, right, having those touchstones, things you can rely on. And it's hard to really pinpoint those on the roster, but I think there's one we can, and that's offensively on Saquon Barkley, who, you know, this is a great stat. You should use it on the broadcast if you can. The Giants have scored 10 offensive touchdowns this year, right? On 6 of those touchdown drives, Saquon Barkley has a play of 29 or more yards. And I think that just shows, you know, he's the one guy that can make that explosive play, really, with all the injuries at wide receiver. Just the impact a healthy Saquon, in your opinion, has had on everything the Giants are trying to do offensively.
Well, it's interesting because I've talked with a defense coordinator who's not playing the Giants right now, okay, and just kind of mentioned to me, you know, just from afar, because he's not game playing, he's not watching. But he said, you know, when I look at that Giants team and what I'm seeing is, if I'm calling defense against them, there's one person that's the true focal point. That's he wears number 26. And you were talking about touchstones and guys who would know. Well, we'd have to go back to his rookie year.
Yeah.
To get that. The next 2 years, we couldn't get that due to a lot of injuries, coaching changes, all those things. But he has brought all that back and elevated it. So he told this D coordinator was saying, you know, they do such a great job of doing so many things to make sure he gets good looks, good touches, good opportunities. But there's one other thing I'm adding based on my watching. Everything's not a bounce play now, John. You know, like for him, so early in his career, hitting home runs was a big deal. He has learned to take that tough at bat. Okay, because I love playoff baseball, and we're having a great playoff baseball run right now in MLB.
Yankees up 1-0, baby.
Yankees up 1-0. But you know, what I like for what I see from him is everything isn't, if I can't bounce it and hit a home run and take a 5-yard loss, now he is ran me up in there. I don't have the stats in front of me. I love that stat, about 29 yards or more in 6 of those, 10 touchdown drives. That's phenomenal. But how many drives now has he had negative runs?
Yep.
I think that number is very, very few, which helps your offense now because you're staying on schedule or you're not super far behind the chains, whatever cliche we want to use. And for an offense that doesn't have a ton of firepower, that's huge. Now, he stays with those runs. The bigger runs have come along with him later. That's what I've seen so far. This is a more mature runner willing to take the 2 or 3, take the 1, but not give up the -5, the -7, the minus whatever, trying to bounce it and turn it into something bigger that's just not there.
Charles, absolutely. I think you hit it on the head. I think your tape watching is right on the money. I think everyone here has seen that too. Daniel Jones on offense, want to ask you about him because numbers don't wow you. You know, he's topped, I think, 200 yards twice this year, but he's protecting the football and his decision-making to me has been excellent. He's getting rid of the ball quickly. Now he's being helped by some play action and they're setting stuff up with moving pockets and stuff like that. But he's decisive when he's running for first downs on those scrambles. And I feel like him and the coaches have meshed really well where they're giving him options on these plays and he's quickly making good decisions and executing the game plan. So even while he's not making those big explosive plays, having those monster passing games, he's doing what he needs to do within the game plan to give this team a chance to win.
I love your scouting report on him, and there's not much I would disagree with, if any, truthfully. I think that what you have said about him is what we are seeing on tape. I think we ought to examine why from my perspective. Okay. And this is just me. I don't want to put any words in your mouth. You see them every day.
No, please go ahead.
But this is a young man that has matured in so many ways. Now, he came in mature. I know that the GM Dave Gettleman catches a lot of vitriol from a lot of people, and it's easy to say, "Oh, this decision and why did they do that?" And okay, I get all that. I remember something he said to me though his rookie year, and he said, and I know as you know, I've known Coach Gettleman since I played against him in high school when he was a high school football coach. So I've known Coach Gettleman a long time, and he said, "Charles, you remember that great accent he had, right? Charles, I needed an adult in the room." And that spoke volumes. Now, he's always been mature. He's always been an adult in the room. But you mentioned before turnovers. That was what was holding him back, even with the explosive games. He always turned it over, especially at inopportune times. Whether he threw an interception, he fumbled in the pocket. Remember that streak of games where he had a turnover in every ball game for whatever number that was? And that became more of what we knew about Daniel Jones than anything else. It went past the 334 and running for the winning touchdown in his first start at Tampa Bay. It went past all of that. We're not seeing that, okay? We're seeing a guy who's shown his toughness, playing on that bad ankle in London and still running for over 30 yards in a game, including some really key runs when he had to get out of the pocket and make it happen. Taking care of the football, all those. And by the way, those explosive throws, yardage, it's not set up that way. It's set up for everything to run through Barkley, and rightly so. And by the way, help me out with something here.
Yeah.
Galladay, not getting a whole lot out of him, unfortunately, and he's been dinged. Wan'Dale Robinson, the second-round pick, has been dinged.
He is a shot to play this week. He might be back.
A shot to play, but I'm just saying, to this point, the numbers aren't there.
Nothing.
Kadarius Toney, the numbers aren't there. He's throwing now to Darius Slayton, who has reemerged, and you remember he was really good out of the gate. I remember I had him as a rookie and second-year guy. David Sills, who we follow, it's always pinging us. Why do I know that name? Oh, yeah, Lane Kiffin offered him a scholarship. He's like in the 7th or the 8th grade as a quarterback, and he's persevered. Marcus Johnson, coming off practice squad.
Yep.
Daniel Bellinger.
Richie James,
who's come on and played quite well. You see where I'm going with this? Not set up for him to be a 300-yard-a-game thrower. And I think he's making really good decisions, understanding where the ball needs to go, who should have it, who should touch it. And those guys have elevated their game. Slayton's back to the guy we saw his first 2 years in a lot of ways. Richie James has been burning to show that he can be a full-time player after last year missing it with San Francisco. I could go on all day. It's just not built for him to be 300 yards per game throwing the football. I think if you had different people, different way of going about it, it could, because he's capable, but it's just not built that way.
Fans, join us at the game on the 16th against the Ravens. It's Latino Heritage Month. A lot of activations, food sampling, live music on the walkways, celebrity artist DJ Camilo, he's performing. So check it out during pregame warm-ups, limited tickets.
You'll be performing as well, won't you?
Yes, but not music or dancing for everyone's sake. Make sure if you guys want to check it out, not be dancing. Limited tickets are available. Visit Giants.com/tickets to secure your seat today. Charles, a couple more minutes. I want to jump to the defense fast, okay? How the hell is Wink Martindale pulling this off? I want to go through this for a second, right? Azeez Ojulari's barely played. Thibodeau missed the first few games. He hasn't gotten going yet as a pass rusher. Leonard Williams, probably the best defensive player, hasn't been playing. They're down to their 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th cornerbacks. This should not be a top 10.
I heard you tried out this week. I heard you got a Vince Papale look this week.
Yep. Unfortunately, in the 40, I pulled the string, so I'm out. Can't do it. How the hell is he doing this? I mean, if you look at the people that are playing, and I know Xavier McKinney's good, Julian Love is good, Dexter Lawrence is good, that's fine. You need 11. How is this like a top 10 defense?
I think it goes back to something we talked about earlier, in that this coaching staff is coaching every player to be prepared to play and take it the next step. Every player truly is preparing to play. Okay, we hear it all the time with quarterbacks. Prepare like you may be the starter. You never know when you're going to go into the game. When do we ever talk about that with other positions?
Yeah.
We almost never do. We talk about strictly, but it's true about all that. And I go back to the practice squad and what it means now versus what it meant in prior years. Practice squad is part of your 53. It's an addition to your 53 because each week we're activating guys. Each week some guys have to come up from the practice squad and be ready to play, but they can't do it unless they're fully integrated during regular practice sessions. And I think that Don Martindale, Wink Martindale, your defense coordinator, has watched his coaches work with these players. He sits down with these coaches at a certain point and says, is that guy ready to go? Is John ready to go? Is this guy ready? Does he have a grasp of what we're doing? And if so, he doesn't waver on that because it shows confidence in these youngsters, in these players. Hey, I'm still calling this thing as if every starter's out there because I'm counting on you to get it done. Plus, he calls things to the strength of these players. Can Dane Belton blitz? Okay, then let's put him out there and let him go get somebody. Can if I'm going to throw him out, what does Justin Lane bring into the table? Well, a lot of determination. He was a third-round pick, so the talent was there. Let's give him that opportunity. He rises to the challenge, okay? You wouldn't get Jalen Smith and got him ready to go. And you think he doesn't burn to show the Cowboys that they gave up on him too early? He's running and hitting like he did before. So all that comes together. And then some of the guys who have been out there have elevated their games to really high levels. Dexter Lawrence is having a career year in rushing the quarterback. Giad Ward is one of those big, strong, physical, nasty defensive ends who will smack you every time you come out there. And he's handling the business out on the corner and making it tough to run the football. Tay Crowder is averaging about almost double digits per game tackling people. So I could go on with this, but I really think that Don Martindale understands that these guys have a grasp of what he wants to do. They understand what he's trying to get done, and he calls things to their strength and then doesn't back down and go, ooh, I don't have all my guys, so I'm going to only play zone and I'm going to do this. This is who they are, and it's creating a heck of an identity and a confidence level for people who may not have had that kind of success before.
2 questions on the matchup, Charles, real quick. The Wink knowing the Ravens knowing Wink. How does that work out on Sunday? Is it to someone's advantage? And what do the Giants have to do to slow down Lamar?
To me, for the Baltimore, it's an open book. They've known him for all these years. He ran his defense a certain way and was unapologetic about it and had great success in doing so. And what you've seen on tape so far suggests that it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, there's some tweaks and some things about different personnel, but he's still aggressive. He's still drawing up 12 to 15 different blitzes each and every week for people to see that they haven't seen before. He's still doing all of those things. To me, the difference in this ball game is going to be from his side. What does he do with Lamar Jackson? Because he never had to really do this with other people. How many other quarterbacks did you play that were like Lamar Jackson when you were in Baltimore? You didn't. Okay, he is a unicorn, as we're so fond of saying nowadays. How will he handle Lamar Jackson in the quarterback run game? And what I've seen lately, a lot more option football.
Yep.
What happens now, and how will Wink prepare for that with his defense? That'll be the tester, and that'll be the change-up for everything. Not that he's not capable. Wink Martindale knows more defense than I will ever think about knowing. But teaching option football defense and rules about who has what and the pitch guy and all that, it tends to slow a defense down because they're thinking because they don't do it each and every week. How will he handle that with Lamar this week? That's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, Lamar's had 2 40-plus yard runs running up the middle on those read options, something to keep an eye on. Final question, Ravens defense, Charles. It's been weird, a little schizophrenic, right? They get lit up in the passing game the first 3 weeks, but then they slow down Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. They stop the run well the first 2-3 weeks, and then they get run on the last 2. So what is this Ravens defense from what you've seen so far this year?
It's a work in progress. They're trying to put that thumb in the dike in different spots. Okay, it's just what you said. We're slowing this. Heck, what's going on? So they're working on it. They're integrating new people into their defense. Remember, Marcus Williams came from New Orleans. Now, he's hurt and not going to play in your game. He's on IR as a safety. And he may have had experience, but everything's brand new to him. These players he's worked with are brand new to him as well. So all of that was getting integrated. He was playing pretty well before he got hurt. Kyle Hamilton, as you remember, I loved him coming out of college. I think he's my favorite player in the draft. He's had some flashes of being pretty darn good. He's had some tough rookie spots. So I think they backed down. Go back to his first 2 games, see how many plays he played. I'll bet you the numbers were like high 40s and an average, mid 40s. I think the last few games is more like less than 20 each game. But that's not because they're down on him. It's just, okay, let's back it off a little bit and let this guy get his legs under him a little bit. I think they put a lot on his plate early, and it might have been a little overwhelming. Here's the other part. They don't have edge rushers.
No.
It's a team that you're used to. It's like Pittsburgh. Those outside backer edge rusher guys, they motor their team. Well, those guys have been dinged. Tyus Bowser hurt. I think he's going to practice this week. We'll see if he gets a play on Sunday. David Ojabo, who they drafted after the Achilles injury in the run up to the draft, I think he's going to start practice this week. But remember, those guys have 3-week windows to activate. We don't know if they'll be ready for Sunday. Heck, they signed Jason Pierre-Paul. You guys know JPP. The first game we had him, he signed that week. We had him against Buffalo. And I thought he'd play, 10, 15, 20 max. He started and played like 50-something plays.
Did he really? Wow.
And I think he's continued to do that. So they're bereft at that position. Adafe Owe is starting to come on as a pass rusher, which is why they drafted him. But all in all, to your question, they're still trying to learn it all. Brand new defense coordinator, Mike McDonald. But I have seen progress over the last 3 weeks. Even the game they lost to Buffalo, they took it away. They gave themselves a chance to win early. And then as time went on, offense bogged down a little bit, didn't score. You see what happened. And then they ended up getting beat by a really good Buffalo team. But all in all, I have seen improvement on this defense. And I think the communication errors that they had early, I've seen less of those in the last 2 weeks.
Charles Davis, watch him 1 o'clock CBS on Sunday afternoon, Giants and Ravens. Charles, thank you as always for the time. You're always very generous with us. We appreciate it. It's great seeing you. And we look forward to catching up either later in the year or when we get started on the draft process at the Senior Bowl.
I look forward to it. I look forward to seeing you this Sunday, right? We will both to the stadium, so I'll see you this Sunday there. And I fully expect to get my salsa lesson.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, by the way, are you going to be in the facility on Friday?
I will be there on Friday.
I'll see you on Friday, Big Charles.
Okay, I look forward to seeing you on Friday, okay?
See you then.
Thanks, John.
We thank Charles Davis from CBS Sports. You can watch his coverage of the Giants and Ravens 1 o'clock again on Sunday afternoon. Just a reminder, the Giants official connected TV streaming app Giants TV brings original video content and game highlights on demand and direct to Big Blue fans. Giants TV is free on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV and the Giants mobile app. But again, folks, if you want tickets to that Giants and Ravens game, Latino Heritage Month, come check it out. It's giants.com/tickets. You can secure your seat today. Folks, thanks for being with us in the Giants Huddle podcast. Good stuff from Charles. It was great to talk to him. I love Charles. He's one of my favorites. We have him on the show all the time, friend of the program. And make sure you check out our Friday podcast this week. If you're listening to us on Friday, the other one should be up a little bit later. That's going to be our usual kind of game preview of a hard look at the Ravens with an opposing reporter. I'm going to talk to Dexter Lawrence, the big defensive tackle, and then Bob Papa with Brian Dable as well. That'll be coming up next on the Giants Huddle podcast. But we thank Charles. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. I love getting outside perspectives on the team. For Charles Davis, I'm John Schmeelk, and thanks for joining us on the Giants Huddle podcast, brought to you by PSE&G, energy and efficiency for game time and anytime. We'll see you next time.